Is that one set to failure really the best way to grow muscle, or is just a dangerous myth that has hurt so many people? Increasing intensity is not only about increasing weight. In fact, many advanced bodybuilders have increased intensity without increasing weights. But that way they have managed to save their joints and tendons while still increasing intensity and optimizing muscle growth. In this video, I will explain some of most popular or effective ways to increase intensity besides just adding weight. So watch the video until the end and you will learn how to optimize your training and train with high intensity safely. I'm Dr. Nash Jocic, former bodybuilding champion. I have competed 46 times and won 17 titles. I've been in bodybuilding for over 40 years, and during that time, I have trained over 3,000 clients and helped them to get in the best shape of their lives. I've also published 9 ebooks, which are all available on my website, so just click the link in the comments and you can access them. So let us dive into the topic. There are 9 ways of increasing intensity that I want to talk to you about today. I will expose every single one and pros and cons of each way to increase intensity. As the last one, being the most effective way to increase intensity, will show you what I believe, what I've used, what is the best and safest way to increase intensity and optimize muscle growth. So watch this video until the end and you will learn how to do it in the best possible way, but most importantly, stay safe. So let us start with the number one method to increase intensity. So you have all heard about drop sets. So you perform, for example, biceps curls, you do 10 reps in good form with, let's say, 35 kgs. Then you drop the weight, you go for 27, 28, and you continue. You do another 4 or 5 reps, and then you drop the weight down to 20, and you do another 4 to 5 reps. And this way you will basically use that maximum ability to perform in this drop set. You can do 2, 3, 4 drop sets, doesn't really matter, but all of them, they make one drop set. So this technique has been used by many professional bodybuilders, including Arnold. It has been proven to help them in certain parts of the year, but you have to pay attention that if you do everything that I've told you to do in the previous videos that I suggested, you will not necessarily need to do these drop sets because they can over-exhaust your central nervous system. So if you use them all the time, that wouldn't be a very good thing to do. If you want to use them sparingly, maybe once a month, not for every muscle. Some muscles, maybe the ones that you want to shock more or provoke more growth, but be careful with this technique. Now, the second one is supersets. So supersets can be done for the same muscle. Let's say you do biceps barbell curls, and then you just immediately after you finish the set, you go on a biceps curl machine, and you continue immediately without resting. So these 2 sets together are called supersets. So they also may be effective, but again, I think mainly very advanced bodybuilders can benefit from this. This is not something that I generally recommend. By the way, my clients are not doing supersets or 3 sets or similar. I find it too exhausting for the central nervous system. So if you perform every set as you should be performing, straight sets are still everything that most of you need to do. Also, supersets can be done for different muscle groups. Let's say you do biceps curls and then you do triceps push down immediately, set after set. So that is another way of, usually people do this in order to save time so they can finish the workout in shorter time because they put 2 sets without rest period in the middle. So the third one is pre-exhaustion system. This is also linked to supersets. So for example, you perform leg extensions and then immediately after that you jump and you do leg press, you do squats. So that way you will target more your quads because they have been pre-exhausted while you were doing leg extensions. This is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is that you, for example, do isolating exercise first, like I often do for legs. I would do leg extensions first to pre-exhaust my quads, and then the second movement will usually be leg press, and then the third movement will be squats or hack squats. So this is one of the ways of doing it. I would recommend to do the way that I'm doing it, meaning that you do isolating exercise first, because that way you can properly warm up your knees, for example, when it comes to leg exercises, and then you are ready to continue with more complex, more effective exercises like leg press or squats. I'm not a big advocate of doing supersets like one isolating exercise and then compound immediately after. I find that that is too much actually for the compound exercise, so we'll never be able to do that compound exercise with the same effort and same focusing as if you've done isolating exercise before the compound one. It's too destructive. Your attention will be taken away. So when you do compound exercise like leg press or squats, you really want to focus on that set. You don't want to do anything before that immediately. But this is, of course, my view. There are people who have benefited from that, not many of them, but still. Then there is another method to increase intensity, and this is shorter rest period. So, for example, if you are normally resting between the sets 90 seconds, why don't you try to rest 45 to 60 seconds and then see what is going to happen? Obviously, this type of training is very difficult because the muscle is not fully recovered, but then the impact on the muscle is much higher. So this is what bodybuilders in golden era used to do a lot. For example, Serge Nubre was one of them who would rest very little between the sets. And this is why he managed to do like 40 sets in one training session, sometimes even more, because he was resting a very short period between the sets, maybe 15, 20 seconds for smaller muscle groups, anywhere from 30, 45 seconds for bigger muscle groups. For that type of training, they used to call quality training, you really need to be experienced and you need to get used to it because not everybody can do this. In my previous videos, I talk about it, and then people came back and said, oh, if I rest only 20, 30 seconds, I'm not going to be able to do 3 sets. Of course you're not going to be able, because you're not Serge Nubre, you are not Arnold Schwarzenegger. So don't you make yourself identical with all these legends of bodybuilding. I'm just suggesting you that these are certain ways of increasing intensity, so you may start focusing on it or may start experimenting. So if you want to shorten the time between the sets, so from 90 seconds, don't go immediately to 30, maybe start with 60, 70 seconds and then gradually go down, because you will need to get used to it. These are advanced techniques for increasing intensity. Now, number 5 method for increasing intensity are partial reps. Partial reps after positive failure. So this is very interesting training method for increasing intensity, and I practice this, and I also ask my clients to do it. Not in every exercise, but in some exercises it can be very good. For example, you do lat pull down for back. So you may do your 10 reps full range all the way up, all the way down, but then you still have enough strength in your muscles to complete maybe 3 or 4 half reps. But those half reps have to be from the fully extended position halfway down, or maybe 1/3 down. And again, you fully extend and you do it again and you do it again. Why? Because that fully extended position of your back muscles is actually the most important part of the set. And I will explain shortly why is that. So don't do opposite. Don't do thirds, quarters, or halves at the bottom. Do them at the top. Many people have done it. I remember watching Nasser El Sombati doing pull-ups. And after 5-6 reps, because he was very heavy, he would continue with those partials. He would do another 3, 4, 5, and they obviously benefited him greatly. So partials partial reps after failure are the method that I advise my advanced clients. Again, these are advanced techniques. So if you are a beginner or intermediate, be very careful about implementing them. I'm just suggesting options, but you have to adapt those options to yourself. There is another one, number 6, is called isometric holds. This is when, for example, you do biceps curls and then halfway up you hold there for 10-20 seconds and then you continue. I'm not a big advocate of this method. I never found it effective. It's just very destructive, basically. But this is, again, me. Then you have number 7 is rest pose. Rest pose is when you take, let's say, weight that you can move 6 times, 6 reps. Then you put the weight back, doing bench press, for example. Then you rest for, let's say, 10-15 seconds. And then you try to do a few more reps immediately after 10-15 seconds. With the same exercise, you do 2-3 reps, and then you put the weight back on the rack. Again, rest 10 to 15 seconds, and again, attempt to do it again. So basically, is like a continuation of the set with short breaks in between. I think this method can work for people who are interested in increasing strength, but not necessarily in the cases for optimal muscle growth. So again, be careful if you want to try this, because this technique can be also very dangerous. And again, I think if you do straight set properly, you won't need to do this. Number 8 method for increasing intensity is something called posed reps. Basically, you go, for example, you do leg press, you do squats. So when you go down, when your muscle is fully stretched, you stay there and you pose there for second, 2, 3, and then you go up again, and then you do it again, and a pose again in the bottom, fully stretched position. So I've never seen any successful bodybuilder actually doing this. These are some techniques that Mike Mentzer experimented with. He was trying to be revolutionary in everything, of course, but I've never done this. I would never advise anybody to do this because it's extremely dangerous, and also he puts the joints in the most vulnerable position, expose them fully to the permanent stress, which may be a few seconds, and then you have to start up again. It will be very difficult. So this method of posed reps is not something that I recommend. Now, finally, we have arrived to the 9th method, which is the most important, the most effective, something that I advise, something that I have used, I've been using with great success. I've been advising my clients to do the same. There are a lot of people who have done it and benefited extremely well from this method. And this is called slower tempo time under tension. So slower reps. You need to do your reps slower. I will explain to you why is that. So first of all, every repetition, 2 main parts of every repetition are concentric. This is when you lift the weights, and then eccentric when you lower the weights, or positive and negative. So isometric obviously is at the top, but is irrelevant in this case. So you have positive contraction when you're lifting the weights, concentric, and you have negative, so-called negative contraction when you are lowering the weights down, let's say when you're doing biceps curls. So both of these are very important. They need to be controlled, concentric as well as eccentric. Now, when I said slower tempo, I'm not saying you should go up, let's say, 2 seconds and then go down 10 seconds. And you can see these people always try to make things extreme because they want to make some amazing results by making their techniques really extreme. So, like if 500 milligrams of antibiotic are good for you taking 4 times per day, there are people who will take 2,000 instead of 500. But it doesn't work like that. So you don't have to exaggerate. When I say slower tempo, and pay attention on the time under tension, that has to be, for example, you go 1 or 2 seconds up, and then you go 2, 3 seconds or maybe 4 down. But you need to do the timing. You're not going to measure the timing like staring at a clock or a watch. You just have to develop that feeling that you are not throwing the weights up and down, as 99% of people are doing in the gyms with no results, only injuries, but they are lifting heavy, right? So you need to understand that bodybuilding is actually nothing about lifting, it's more about lowering. And why is that? Why is lowering, why is that negative part of repetition more important than positive or concentric? So research has shown, and the general consensus is that eccentric repetition, negative parts of the repetition, lowering the weight, contribute 60 to 70% to muscle growth. All right? You probably never heard this before, but yes, 60 to 70% of muscle growth is due to negatives or eccentric parts of the repetition. Now, concentric or lifting the weight up, as long as it's controlled, contributes 30 to 40% of muscle growth. So you see how substantially more negatives or eccentric repetitions are more effective. They're double in effectiveness. So 60 to 70% or 30 to 40% when it comes to concentric. This is why so many people, and I've known many of them, even professional bodybuilders, have achieved much better results when they increase their number of reps per set. So for example, people were doing 6 to 8 reps for biceps, because that's something that's been advised, 6 to 8 or 6 to 10. And then they just didn't grow. Then they increased the number of reps to 12 or 15. And all of a sudden, the biceps started growing. Now, the confusion and that religious belief in reps, in mathematics, in scientific analysis and similar, they are absolutely irrelevant when it comes to muscle that you train, because your muscle doesn't know what 6 or 8 reps are. So why is the muscle growing more if you double the number of reps? Oh, muscle likes more 12 to 15 reps. No, muscle doesn't like more anything that is called number. Muscle doesn't know what is 12 to 15, and neither muscle knows what is 6 to 8. So what is the reason for that? The reason is that when you double number of reps, you literally double the number of eccentric repetitions. So you double the time of the lowering of the weight. And this is the reason why higher reps increase muscle growth. Not because you have slowed down, but because you have unknowingly increased the time, the number of time under tension during that negative phase. Now you don't have to do that. You still can do 8 to 10 reps, but you need to go a bit slower. And you never stop. The set is a number of reps which are connected to each other, like the carriages of the train. So you don't go down, wait 2-3 seconds, then throw the weight up, then wait 2 seconds, drop the weight down. That's laboring. This is nothing to do with bodybuilding. So bodybuilding is a continuous tension, time under tension. So if you go 1, 2 up, you go 2, 3 down, and you go 1, 2 up, and you go 2, 3 down, and your whole rep, meaning concentric and eccentric, will be, let's say, around 5 seconds. When you multiply that with 10 reps, the set will last 50 seconds in controlled tension. This is the key for muscle growth. This is the best way to increase intensity and also the safest. So you do not have to increase the weight necessarily. You can increase dramatically the intensity of your set by slowing down, especially eccentric part of repetition. So I never said that concentric part is not important, but I said that the concentric part contributes 30 to 40% to muscle growth, while eccentric or negative rep, part of the rep, contributes 60 to 70%. So it's entirely up to you what you want to do, but first that you need to do is to completely detach yourself from that stigma of lifting weights. So bodybuilding is not weightlifting. Bodybuilding is not powerlifting. Bodybuilding is much more intelligent type of exercise that we use in order to grow muscles. So if you agree with that, and if you change your mindset, you will start training your muscles with much higher intensity and much lower risk. If you are still one of those guys who can bench 3 or 4 plates, or maybe squat 4 or 5 plates, fine, good luck to you. I wish you all the best. But I know what is going to happen. You're going to get frustrated because you're not going to be as big as you want it to be. And also injuries will be something that will plague you. You should be very careful. And I would advise everybody who thinks that way to change their mindset. Again, bodybuilding is not weight training. Bodybuilding is not powerlifting. Unfortunately, majority of people are still focused about how much they can lift. As I just explained to you, bodybuilding is more about lowering the weight, more about eccentric contraction or negative contraction than lifting the weight. So this is something that you should pay attention to. This last one, this slower pace, slower time under tension, is the most effective way to increase intensity. The reason for that, why negatives are so much more beneficial, are many. First of all, there is a greater force production. So muscles can handle up to 40% more weight in lowering down than in lifting. So if you, let's say, lift, 100, you can lower 140. So there is a much greater force production. And this is why this is much more effective. Now, negatives or eccentric contractions, they cause more mechanical tension. And the part of mechanical tension, which is the most important factor for muscle growth, is the passive mechanical tension, meaning the lowering part, when the muscle is fully extended. So again, it's nothing about lifting, contracting, but it's more about extending, stretching that muscle fully, more than contracting it. So if you stretch the muscle fully, you cause more of that passive mechanical tension, which will actually stimulate more growth than just lifting it up. There are countless number of examples. Just watch, for example, pumping iron. When Arnold does dumbbell flies, he does dumbbell flies in a way that the dumbbells are almost touching the floor. So I don't know if Arnold knew all of this, but he experienced that stretch under resistance will give him more size than actually contracting it. Again, numerous cases. Phil Heath doing a hammer strength press, incline press. He goes all the way down, but he doesn't go all the way up because it doesn't really matter. You shouldn't ever go all the way up and lock your arms anyway. But he relies on this full extension and maybe going 60-70% up and then lowering down without stopping. Then Ronnie Coleman doing squats. Ronnie Coleman does squats, but he never comes up. He's always down. He's always in that negative, eccentric, passive mechanical tension. So this is the key. This is the reason why these eccentric lowering parts of the repetitions are actually more effective. So that extreme mechanical tension causes higher muscle damage, hence remodeling. So more muscle damage you cause, more supercompensation will occur within the muscle, meaning the body will build more muscle tissue than before. The best example of that are actually blisters. We create more tissue when tissue is damaged. So because tissue is damaged, or holding the weights, holding the bars, the body starts repairing it, but it never repairs as much as it was broken down. It always brings a little bit more. And this is the phenomenon of physiology called supercompensation. So when you cause higher muscle damage via negatives, remodeling or supercompensation will be much higher. So you will be building more muscle. I would like to finish by mentioning again 3 core components of training intensity. So, number 1 component of training intensity is progressive overload with perfect form. What that means? That means that if you can increase the weight but still perform the same number of reps, the same form, and the same number of sets, this is very effective. So when you come to the point, let's say you do 5 sets, 10 reps, in perfect form, and all of a sudden the reps go up to 12 or 13 or 15. It's time for you to increase the weight. So this is called progressive overload with perfect form. So you can increase the weight, but only if you use the perfect form, still the same number of reps, and the same number of sets. If you increase the weight, but your reps drop from 10 to 5, you're not doing anything. You're just lifting heavier for the sake of promotion or publicity or whatever you want to show in the gym that you can do it. But it's not going to happen. So if you want to increase the load, you should do the same number of reps as you've done before, not less. Because at the end, if you increase the number of weight, but you decrease the number of reps, when you multiply that with each other, it's going to come up the same as a higher number of reps with less weight. So number one core component is progressive load with perfect form. Number two is slower tempo, greater tension. Slower tempo means that you're going to have greater tension and you will perform that exercise for longer. So this way you will increase time under tension, enhance muscle fiber recruitment, because more muscle fibers will be needed when the tension increases. And also you will improve your mind-muscle connection. So when you're focusing on that set, where you're fully immersed into your positives and negatives in your concentric and eccentric repetitions, your mind-muscle connection is much better. You're not listening just to the music, performing for the people around you or Instagram. No. You are implementing high-intensity technique in order to grow your muscles. So you have to be very, very focused. Number three, core component is shorter rest between the sets. I often see people doing a set of, let's say, leg press, and then they rest. They look at the watch and they rest. I'm resting. 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I'm resting. And they wait for the watch to say, oh, you're ready now. And then they go to another set and rest again. So during the whole session, which is an hour, they probably perform 7, 8 sets altogether, 10 max. And that's it, with the rest period being too long. So when you're resting too long, your muscle will fully recover. So your next set will actually be a next workout. All right? So you don't want that muscle to fully recover to do it again. Yes, if you are a power lifter. Yes, if you are a weightlifter. Power lifters, they wait 4, 5, 10 minutes sometimes between the sets because this is their game. They're just focused on lifting the weight. So they need to be fully recovered to try again. But bodybuilding is different. You want to make muscle damage. So if you reduce the time between the set, you will cause greater metabolic stress on the muscle. And that's something that you need to grow. And you will achieve much denser and harder physique that way. So people in the golden era used to call it quality training. They would do that especially before the show, not only to build to burn body fat, but also to end up really dense on the stage. And one of the reasons for that, why they were looking the way they were looking, like the look which was unmatched, you can see my previous video on this subject, was actually a shorter time between the rest. So once again, there are three components of training intensity: progressive load with perfect form, slower tempo, greater tension, and short rest between the sets. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. And if you did, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, send me your comments. We have a fantastic discussion on our channel. People are commenting, they are giving their experiences, sharing with others. So I would really be happy if you become part of that discussion. I also try to answer as many questions as I can. I will use this opportunity again to remind you that I have published 10 ebooks which are fully loaded with information about muscle growth, fat loss, most effective training principles, perfect number of reps, sets, nutrition, everything that you need to know in order to grow muscle and burn fat. Also, watch this video in which I introduce my other services, my other ways that I can help you directly. We can work one-to-one via personalized training programs, personalized nutritional programs, telephone consultations, and also online coaching. So, guys, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.